Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sunday Podcast, brought to you guys by sportsnews.com as always. Look, we are piloting the new format today. Lots and lots to talk about. We better start, obviously, with the Oxford men and the Loughborough women winning BUCS. Matt's going to be on that in a moment.
I will, but also this weekend, Izzy Boffey goes 8th all time over 800, second Brit with 157. What's next for her, Lum?
Yeah, certainly. It looks like we obviously said last week that she might well be about to pop a big one, and she really did. So we'll see. Sam Roof, though, 3:48 for the mile at 16 years of age. Again, we spoke about his run last weekend. I couldn't believe it when he went quicker.
Age is just a number, mate. But Kerr loses to Hocker again. Can anyone touch Hocker? Is he the man to beat in 2026? And finally, mate, we will be getting onto this. Is it time to ban Pacers? Had some great debates already with people off air, so looking forward to a few phone-ins later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks so much for everyone that did message to phone in. On this week, we'll have Dave Reagan, Matt Stonier, Tom Barrett and Ben Claridge to discuss some of our topics. But obviously in future weeks, look out for the messages on Instagram. Look out for the stories. We've got a phone number on there. Got the email address that's live. So any way you can get hold of us, send us a message and we get you a slot next week.
100%, mate. So, but firstly, I guess before we get into all of this, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. You've won BUCS on the weekend. We got our last league game on Wednesday.
Yeah, mate.
So, coaching's going all right, isn't it, mate?
I'll be welcoming you to, you're playing BUCS, aren't you?
Yeah, we're playing BUCS on Wednesday. Not Oxford Uni. This last time was a bit of conflict of interest when I came down, wasn't there?
Yeah, didn't Oxford Uni crush your dreams of promotion in BUCS League?
Yeah, it was not great. Last ditch playoff, and Matt's there on the sideline in his Oxford sweatshirt.
I mean, it was just pre-coaching, wasn't it? You're animated. Lum's an animated coach. He's a very aggressive. Yeah, you were a very animated coach on the touchline, mate. I think you had a few calls not go your way, but I had a good catch up with your mum and dad anyway. Right, mate. Let's get into where do you want to start? Should we start with BUCS? Should we get our takes, our opinions off the chest, and then we'll welcome Matt Stonier of Loughborough and Tom Barrett of Oxford?
Yeah, mate. I mean, look, you tell me how it went, because let's celebrate the performances first, and we'll let them kind of chip in on what seems to be controversy, mate. Because I actually didn't speak to you about it until yesterday. I saw the results, and when I was kind of after the weekend and stuff, and was like, there they go. They finally won it. Like you've obviously been down there 4 years now, maybe, and it's nice to see that come to fruition in terms of the hard work you put in. And then I find out, because we're planning the doc, that apparently there was a bit of controversy on the day. But mate, talk to me about the performance first of all. Like, tell me about Oxford men's win and how that felt for you.
Oh, mate, it was a very, very special day. And actually, you get these days and it couldn't have gone better, to be honest. And I think, what's funny, mate, I was, on the drive home, you're thinking about it, and a lot of people still ask me about my running, and they're kind of like, how's it going? As if I'm still trying to compete. But, I think the biggest thing is actually coaching's given me far more just in the last 5 whatever years. Coaching's given me far more than even my running career has. And I don't think I've ever felt a moment like that when I was competing than I did coaching. And so I am very grateful for these times, you know what I mean? I know they don't last, but it's the sport moves very, very fast. And I'm sure we'll have a target on our back for next year now. But on the day, it just couldn't have gone better. We knew we would have needed about under 50 points to win. When we got second 2 years ago, we were 51 points, I think, which is what Loughborough got this year, and that was very close. That was in Leeds. We had 5th, 10th, or just over, and then a couple just on the cusp. I think 17, 18, and just over 20. For our 50. So we knew we would have needed sub 50, because there wasn't going to be any sort of runaway. Like, we weren't going to see Birmingham of the last few years where they get sort of 1, 2, 3s, or, they get 3 or 4 in that top 10. So it was going to be quite open, but we just had to pack well high up the field, basically. And it was for a large part of that race, mate. Loughborough they went off extremely hard. I think they had 5 or 6 in the front pack for a large, for the first couple of laps, 4-lap race. And they just seemed to just run themselves out of it a little bit, run themselves into the ground. And And we managed to just, I think, by on the last lap, I think it was still very close. But I think we had a couple good sprint finishes, and on the men's side, it couldn't have gone better, but also extremely proud of our women as well, because, to get again 2 and 10, on the women's side, and then pack really well, basically 20th and just outside 20th and 30th. We were absolutely chuffed, to get bronze against what is, very, very strong Loughborough team, Birmingham team, and Cambridge, Edinburgh. There was what I hope doesn't go unnoticed about this BUCS as well is actually the depth of this BUCS and how competitive it's getting further afield. I mean, when you look at, for example, when you go in and you look at the men's, I'm just on the men's results now, the top 10, you've got Oxford, Glasgow, Bristol, St Mary's, Manchester, Oxford, Loughborough, Exeter, Edinburgh. Like that was your top 10. There's just a wide variety of universities now. And so I think out of all of this, mate, it was an amazing day for myself and Oxford, of course, but the real winner could be BUCS, because I think it's getting more and more competitive. And we're seeing, Edinburgh men were third. That shouldn't go unnoticed. Like Tom Spencer, Glasgow, led this race for, what was it, 10K race? 9.99K. There were just some great battles, and the same on the women's side. It just seems to be getting more competitive. So the big three, if you like, is slowly branching out to what could be known as a 5 or 6.
Yeah, which is only a good thing, right? And I think it's a sign that athletes have kind of realised they don't need to go to Loughborough, Birmingham, St Mary's to compete well on a university level, and you can, I guess, either stay a bit closer to home and run for a more local university and not switch up your setup, which went so well as a junior, or you can go somewhere else and really pick and choose a slightly different program. And it doesn't have to be aligned to a university necessarily. I'm sure some of these athletes are with kind of clubs that are local to the uni, or with coaches that aren't necessarily the university coach as well. And I think that's only a good thing. Just going back to, mate, what you said about obviously the feeling you get from a coach. I think, like, from my experience with coaching BUCS as well, I think it's just how much it means to the athletes in the BUCS. Just, and we obviously had this when we were at uni as well, is like getting to go to battle at BUCS with your best mates. Just means everything for them in that moment. So I think it's nice, isn't it, when you see it kind of come good. And look, you mentioned obviously Edinburgh as well. They've obviously had change in coaching and leadership in recent years, and you think that's the reason for this big improvement for them?
Well, mate, possibly. What's Mark Rowland been there 12 months now, maybe a year, and they did pack well. They had 9, 10, 24 and 31. Harry Henrik's in their first man in. And again, on the women's side, I saw quite a lot of green vests. I couldn't sort of tell you off the top of my head where they were, in the race, but they are looking very strong. And you think an institution like Edinburgh, will want to be competitive. They will want to target BUCS and really put themselves, on the map. So I can't remember. Maybe they have medalled in recent years, but I can't remember the last time I saw Edinburgh medal, even back when we were competing, mate.
No, but it's such a smart piece of like recruitment in a way. But in terms of by Edinburgh Uni, right? You hire Rowland, you pay for his salary in. Obviously, it doesn't directly correlate, right? But in terms of student fees, by getting X amount of athletes, right? That I'm not being funny. Like these
how many could he bring through the door?
Yeah, these athletes, like growing up thinking, I would never have the chance to be coached by Mark Rowland.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, genuinely. I mean, that would be a.
Well, imagine. Obviously, it's slightly different now, but like imagine like when we were in university, we'd be watching Flow Track, watching the OTC. Mm-hmm. Imagine it was like, oh yeah, you could go to university in the UK and not even need to be on like a scholarship or a program, and you could just go to this uni, and Mark Rowland's the head of endurance.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you've got the opportunity to learn under him. Yeah, I totally agree. Like if his salary pays for itself, if he brings 3-4 kids through the door, if he manages to, to convince them, which I'm sure he is out there doing. So yeah, I guess it was a monumental day, and we won't sort of talk too much about it because we have got a couple callers coming in later in the show. So potentially, should we just quickly, before these callers come in, give our opinion on the Millrose games, on Boston, some of the key results. Millrose, I guess the biggest result probably this weekend is for me is Sam Ruth's 348 mile, I think.
It is sickening. Honestly, so what did he run the week before? 353? That was what we were talking about last week, yeah?
Yeah, and we talk about age. Age is just a number these days.
But
you've got a 16-year-old running
jump at any
348.
I don't even know how to describe that, because I guess for me it's like, what does this guy do next?
What does he do next? I mean,
because a 348 mile, and I know we do speak about this a lot in terms of the mile is a bit, I don't know what the right word is, but the mile is very difficult to gauge, because
the difference is, though, right, it's an incredible time, but when Jakob was 16, 17. Well, when Jakob was 17, he won the European Championships gold over the 1500 and the 5000. And I don't think any of these people could do that. Cam Myers couldn't even do that. Laros couldn't even do that. Definitely not this Sam Ruth kid. We might get proven wrong in the summer. Like, he might show us, he might go and win Comet Games beating Kerr and Whiteman, and maybe he will. But I think that's the difference, and this is why times now are just, and this is why, by the way, BUCS is so special, because it's a shared memory between teammates, and I think everyone, and even someone like Jared Ward, I think that experience for him, he wanted to be a part of it. He knew how much it meant to the team, the university, and even himself, like a bit of a bucket list moment. One of his big things when he came to Oxford was like, I want to experience British cross country. He's heard the folklore, mate. He's heard all the stories. He wanted to be a part of it. He wanted to get stuck in, and hence why he ran the varsity match, hence why he ran BUCS. And it's like those memories that are shaping his career. Mark Cookway sent a great voice note in about this. And so, where was I going with this? Mate? Lost my train of thought. Sam Ruth, yeah. No, just talking about the sort of races. Like, the time is obviously amazing, but it's what he can go on and do in races.
Yeah, certainly is. But we obviously wish him all the best, and I can't wait to see him. I hope he's at the commies. I hope he's sticking it to the best in the world, because that would be an incredible story.
But I listened to a good interview with his dad, and he has got a tough couple of years, because he's still got to finish high school, graduates that at the end of 2027. It's just going to be difficult for him to, I guess, keep that momentum. Like, talk about the summer season, keep that momentum going through his school year. Their school year is slightly different, obviously. But yeah, that was a very impressive, very, very impressive performance from him. Myers looked very comfortable in the actual Millrose mile, right? The professional mile, he looked extremely comfortable. He looks in great form. I thought Hobbs Kessler was phenomenal last week, and yeah, he kind of made Hobbs look a little bit ordinary off that last turn. Yeah, he's trying to battle away. But also, Cole Hocker was very impressive, and just with that kick, he's done it all, Hocker, right? But he's Olympic champion, world champion over the 5. He looks so strong. Can he hold? For me, his hardest thing now is, can he hold this to 2028? Because Olympics on home soil, and he's just looking so bloody good. I'm like, that's going to be it's a difficult bar to hold, right? Even Jakob struggled to sort of hold that level before an injury, is around the corner.
Yeah, and I guess all that's left is he wants to do the double, right? He wants to win the 5 and the 15 at one champs, or retain the 15. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's.
I think we know
he's not the sort of athlete who I think, though, is going to think, I'm going to start resting on my laurels now. I think he always
does. We know how hard it is to retain those titles. Though, to become a defending Olympic champion, extremely difficult. Let's wrap up a few of the results as well. Obviously, Boffy.
Yeah, obviously, mate. Let's talk about Boffy.
Yeah,
157 takes the win as well. Puts her right in the driving seat, I guess, in terms of the UK this year, and a good standing all time as well.
An incredible result, and I think one which has been, you would say, coming, or she's been knocking on the door for just so many years. Finally gets that breakthrough performance, and now what's that going to do for her confidence going forward? I think
she'll be thinking, I can go run 156 now outdoors.
The hardest part for a lot of athletes is believing they can. For her, it's like believing you can. I always think she's had a lot of confidence in her, like the way she's raced. She's always caused a few upsets. She's always been quite aggressive in racing. I don't think confidence has ever been her issue, but there is still that thing of she's 8th all time. She just missed Keely's record. Like, for someone to take Keely's record when Keely is in her prime, that would have been something. there's still a bit more time of this indoor season. Maybe Keely goes and improves on that record, but that would have been seriously impressive. But she's got to be thinking, okay, I'm going to try and challenge the Olympic champion over the next year, especially indoors. Like how Keely might come out and shock us all, but sort of history tells you that 156 is still a very hard time to run indoors.
Yeah, certainly is, and you need to get the races, and it needs to be right. And yeah,
do you think the result?
If you have like someone really challenging you, you start thinking about other things, and you got to make sure you win the race rather than just going out there. Obviously, Ellie Baker in that race as well, 2:01. So like solid run for her. Hopefully she's one that can get back towards her best as well, mate. As well, obviously Katie Snowden won the 3K. I think the race before Buffy, 8:39, looked absolutely dominant in that as well. And again, can we see her get back towards her best? Because she had that phenomenal season, I think 2 years ago. Obviously winning the British champs over Laura Muir and then making a final, I believe, as well. Or the semi-final, sorry, at the Olympics.
Yeah. As Snowden, I wonder if she's eyeing up the 3,000 for the world indoors potentially. Hannah Nuttall just looking so good right now. Hannah, and again, like in Milrose, just the way, I know she didn't quite get the win, but the people she beat, 2 3Ks back to back in a week is tough. A lot of people just struggled that second time around in Milrose. They all raced Boston. I thought they were a little, and I thought that about Hobbs. He sort of raced the 2000, ran that world record, perhaps just a little fatigued going into Milrose. And so I think for Nuttall to then improve on what she ran the week before was very, very impressive. 8:32, she is in fine form. On the men's side, Patterson's 145. Dave Race, 146. So good times in Glasgow, by the way, 147. Dave Race, McKenna and Fisher, 148 and 148. Just looking men's mile, Billiard, Fogg, Elson, 354, 355. I don't think we're going to have... Are we going to have anyone in the 1500 at World Indoors? We've got the British champs coming up. But that standard, 336, I thought, they softened that standard. They've made it a little bit more achievable. But it's just getting the races. Like for these guys now, they've got 2 weeks till champs. If they can get in a race, there's a lot this weekend. There's a lot of meets this weekend. So if they can get in that, they'll be fine. But going to be difficult.
Yeah. Is there any eligibility from the summer at all?
Good question. There's an equivalent. There's equivalent outdoor time, right?
Yeah, it's normally quick though, isn't it?
So I'd have to double check that. I think it might be 3:33, which none of the guys who are sort of vying for that spot did, or like 3:32.5 or 3:33 outdoors. Can't remember off the top of my head. But mate, it is almost time to welcome in Matt Stonius. So former Loughborough student, host of You've Got to Go, was again another great character on the course on Saturday. So let's hear from him.
Surprised you've not got your African Violet on, mate.
Are we going straight into that?
We're straight in, mate. We're straight in. We'll ask you how you are afterwards. Come on,
it's showbiz. It's showbiz. We got to get going.
All right, sports fans, morning. Early start for me, this. Yeah, BUCS. Well, we hosted it, but that's about where it ended. No, it was a great event. I've got to give a little shout out to Kyle for actually getting it on. Obviously, you all know it was in danger of not going ahead this year, which having seen the event Saturday would have been a catastrophe. But no, it was great to see. And again, Matt, well done for you and your beloved Oxford.
Stoney, there's a great image of us Oxford men and Kyle. And you took it, Stoney. So thank you for the memory.
Yeah. I thought if I could be part of it somehow and help you guys out. But the irony of your team's so old, I think Kyle was coaching most of them.
He was.
When he was still at Oxford. So he's only got himself to blame, really, Kyle. But, yeah, no, it was a good event. And you know what? I think to see how happy your team were, and the pride and the joy, and like they obviously care a lot about BUCS. They weren't just there sort of turn up because the uni said you got to do this. They all clearly wanted to be there themselves, and it showed. And yeah, no, they all seem like great lads as well. I don't really know any of them because they're about 10 years older than me, but good guys.
So are you hinting that some of the Loughborough boys just do BUCS because the uni tells them to do it?
No. It was a slightly different atmosphere I felt with the team this year. Obviously, I've not been with them loads because I'm not a student anymore and not been running much, but I think they definitely went into it with fairly lofty expectations. They wanted the team win. Let's not hide behind that. it was somewhat achievable. Obviously, with Birmingham the last few years, they've been so strong. And then this year they're on a bit of a rebuild. So they knew it was going to be a head-to-head with Oxford. But I think the home course, and then Flynn, our first scorer, had just come off the back of a 28-30 at Valencia. Sam Hodge had gone to Euros. Rowan has been, a staple on the cross course. Jack Small, good on the mud. Jake Stevens, our second year youngest guy on the team. He's been training really well. And then Brandon is a really good triathlete. So the team was very strong. And again, because the Oxford team is slightly older, I don't think we knew how strong or the depth of what the Oxford team would be. So I think the lads went in hoping to win. Expectation maybe a bit too far to go, but they were definitely a bit disappointed coming away with the silver. So
mate, I think that's what struck me at this year's BUCS, though. There are a lot of, I guess you could say, new faces in that top 10. Like when you look at that top 10, there's probably a lot of people, no disrespect to Loughborough and Birmingham, they're going, wait a sec, who's that person? I'm not familiar with those runners, because you almost, the Loughborough bubble, right? You live in that.
Oh, 100%.
And you're used to racing the same guys at BMC Grand Prix, and you all go out to Valencia, etc. And what was your take on that top 10? Because it was a different top 10 to what we've usually seen, with Birmingham packing 3 or 4 in that 10, etc.
Yeah, I was shocked. I sort of thought, if I just take Jack Small, one of the Loughborough guys, he was 17th. I was sort of thinking, if he doesn't have a great run, he'll be 7th or 8th. Flynn, I thought, was guaranteed podium, because again, it's that bubble. You don't really know. There's no sort of start lists and everything beforehand until everyone does their team announcements of this person's doing it, that person's doing it. And obviously everyone, there's a bit of a period between Liverpool and racing now where there's not really much going on. So you've had some people maybe go away. Some people hit the training really hard. Some people might. It's a time of year where you get ill and injured. I know Rowan had to drop out because he was really ill. So there's a lot of other variables going into this race, and no one really knows what's going on. And obviously the names are slightly different. I mean, you're used to seeing your Liverpool names. Obviously we've just had Valencia names, and then all of a sudden, these other names come out, and on a course like Saturday was, it's such an equalizer. Flynn ran 28:30, but running a 10K in Valencia is it's a different sport to what Saturday was. And I think some people forget that sometimes, and the transition to cross is never as simple as it may look, even if someone like a Rory or a Scott can make it look as easy as it is. But yeah, no, I thought the group, who's the guy that
Tom Spencer.
Shout out to him. He made the race. It was unbelievable. And obviously there was a bit of controversy. What were your thoughts on the finish with him and Jared?
Oh, to be brutally honest, I wasn't at that. Are you talking about the point where they, Spencer just couldn't turn off? There was Marshall in his way, so missed.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
Yeah, so I declined to comment, mate. No, but I think what happened for the listeners is, there was a Marshall. Basically, they obviously just turned off into the finishing chute, right? And there was a Marshall still standing in the way, maybe thought they had another lap. And I think, Spencer's hasn't turned. Wardy's knows that he's got to turn right. But, Wardy said he sort of gave Spencer the yards back that he gained, and it was kind of a fair run into the finish from there. So, but yeah, that's a very Oxford way of seeing things, maybe.
I think he would have had him. Obviously, it's a bit of a shame there was a bit of, Marshall's sort of switched off and gone to sleep. But the way Tom ran the race, for those that don't really know, he literally led it from 2K and then just ran it by himself from there until the last 200 meters. And at every lap he was getting more and more support because people were sort of egging him on as soon as they realized he was going for it. And then it was a little bit of a shame to see him down at the line, but no, fair play to him. I don't know. I don't really know the guy. I've never really spoken to him, but I don't know if that was what he was hoping to do, if that was what he expected or.
Well, I think this is where BUCS has come to now. Like he's a former Cambridge student. He's a PhD up at Glasgow, putting in the 170, 180K weeks for a good block, and he had this in his mind, talking to his brother after he wanted it the sort of bare minimum top 10 finish. And obviously I think when the course then suits you, he's feeling comfortable, he pushes on, he gets the result that he was after, get second and almost, just a metre or so away from the win. But there was another name. Joe English was third, Pickering fourth, Arlo Ludwig fifth, and Chris Parker sixth there. So there were a lot of new faces in that top five. But mate, just a word on the women's race as well, because I know you guys like to say how old our team is, but obviously, Danit is also a former Oxford post NCA and now Loughborough PhD student. You've had Abby Donnelly in the past. You've had Jess Judd in the past. You've had old characters in their prime at BUCS. So that's just my one sentence of defence. But your women were very impressive as well.
Yeah, obviously second and third, Emily and Danit. Yeah. And then Isabel Holt won. But it was a good race between those three, actually, together for most of it. And then Isabel Holt just sort of managed to gain the gap, and then Danny was back and forward. I think she went into second at one point, then was dropped down to fourth, fifth, and then managed to come back and dig deep. But no, Emily and Danit are definitely flying the flag for the girls at the moment. It's good to see them do well. Obviously, Danit DNF at Valencia through illness, so has come back really well. So that's good to see, even if she is pushing 30. But no, it's. I actually wanted to touch on it briefly because we can't really talk as a university. You enter a team that's going to give you the best chance of winning. But seeing it from the outside now and seeing the guys of an average age of around 20, 21 from our team, and then obviously your team substantially older, is it time to look at that and maybe make a couple changes? The rumours going around, obviously everyone from Oxford was going, you can't win anything with kids. I saw Slady, the first thing he said to me, so he's obviously prepared the line in advance. So that was obviously your team talk. But I just look at it, and we sort of said, if you think you're too old to go to the after party, you're too old to be doing BUCS. And that's the sort of, how would you categorize if you should be still racing or not racing? Obviously, I lost to Mohammed the one year, lost to Will Batchel the other year. And it does put a little bit of a downer on it because you don't actually really see those guys as the people you're racing, because you just see them as a different era, a different age group, even though it's totally within the rules. But
you're senior adults when you're racing BUCS. It's not an under 23 competition. You have those available to you in the kind of rest of the summer and things like that. I just think you can't put a limit on it without changing the type of competition, right? Because that's like saying, you shouldn't be going to study at university unless you're under 21, right? And that's what it is. It's a university competition. So if you're studying at university, you are well within your rights to represent the uni. And no one's kicking up a fuss if someone is going and running in the B race and coming 100th because they joined a run club at uni when they started, when they were 25, and then got into running and then absolutely loved being able to go and run BUCS Cross. But I don't think you can then penalise someone like Jared or someone like Jess Judd in the past or Abby Donnelly in the past for just wanting to do the best at their university, like you say. Yeah.
I don't know if they could maybe do something where you're allowed one master's student, one PhD student, and the rest must be undergrads, or if there's or maybe you can only do 5 BUCS and then you have to do the short course. You can't be in the A race or the long course, or I don't know, maybe it's something worth thinking at. But then again, we've done it in the past and any uni is going to send out the strongest team. But I don't know, it just felt a little bit flat.
But let me ask you this, is it better?
Guys.
I mean, are you saying that because this year you lost? Last year we got third, you beat us last year. Wardy was fourth last year, and sort of no one, I don't think anyone was like, he shouldn't be in the race. I think they're actually chuffed that your guys, one of your guys, what was it? Small was second last year. He put him away. And obviously to put, so there is that. Is it just this year? But also, is it not good for BUCS to have this? Is the way I see it is we want this event to be as competitive as possible, and we want the standard to be as high as possible. I think BUCS still has a way to go in being super competitive between universities. You also want sponsors. You want universities to be attractive to sponsors, and you want these titles. They are, it meant a huge deal for us, and it always means a huge deal for you guys when you win. But we want it to be even bigger than it already is.
Yeah, this was my second point, which I wanted to bring up. Obviously, BUCS was hanging on by a thread this year with going ahead. Why not bring BUCS into the cross challenge that happens in Feb and put it in an event within the cross challenge because you can still have
Stoney,
two
I think that is a
races.
terrible idea.
That is an awful idea, mate. If
That
anyone was
is-
there,
that is- that's the worst
if
thing
anyone
you've
was there, if anyone was there on the weekend, you're like, this is why the event needs saving, needed putting on. Like the atmosphere was ridiculous, right?
Yeah,
there were
but
so
if
many
you
people
put it
lined
within
the
the
course.
cross challenge,
It doesn't need to merge
it's,
with
it's
an
his
event.
own event completely.
But 6 weeks ago, it wasn't going to go ahead.
So you're just worried about the event, BUCS. You're worried about BUCS taking place. That if it piggybacks off another event, that secures BUCS taking place every year.
If you bring it into the cross challenge, you still have a separate race. You still have a men's and a women's race.
But it's on the
For
same
sure.
day.
I'm not sure you're able to get in a short course, long course, long course for men and women.
And then it ruins it. And that's part
but
of
then
it.
if you had a BUCS race within the cross challenge, you'd have so many more people there because you'd have all the unis.
Are you
but
saying
everyone else?
There's a BUCS marathon in London Marathon.
Are you saying?
Do you all
No,
go
no,
down
no,
to
no,
that and get excited?
Because the actual BUCS race is its own race on the day. But then imagine everyone doing the London races, let's say the Parliament Hill one.
Yeah.
Everyone who's been to uni can then
Will
support
be there, yeah.
everyone who's still at uni. So you might have someone like me who, okay, because it was in Loughborough this year, I went to go watch.
You were
on the
there.
doorstep.
There was a huge Loughborough alumni base there, right? And
But you'd have even more. You would have so many more. You'd have more parents going out to watch, even though it's not really a parents' event. But I think the crowds would be a lot better. You'd guarantee.
Are you saying?
Events
But
going
you were there on Saturday. Were the crowd not amazing? I thought there was
They
hardly
were,
a point on the course where I could get a message to my athletes because it was so noisy. Like I had to go off to the back end.
Part of that was it being in Loughborough. I think the centrality of the race. I think the course, because it was basically around a sports field. Yeah, there were so many opportunities to watch in so many different locations, which I think for a spectator point, great. I think the course was boring from an athlete perspective, but I still have a boring course than no course at all because 5-6 weeks ago it wasn't going ahead. But it's more just to make sure what happened on Saturday happens every year. And you can't lose that. Especially being at BUCS, it's one of the biggest things you look forward to. You have Liverpool in November, and then from then on, you've got 3 months where all you're thinking about is BUCS. And if it can't go ahead, it ruins a year of university if you're a runner. So I was looking more from like a guarantee perspective. But I think you could still have an unbelievable race. The support would be as good, if not better. And then I think it would also probably help the cross challenge in terms of entries and everything like that. But yeah, maybe not on that one.
There you go. Right, Stonia, lovely to hear from you, but I'm afraid you've got to go. We've got another caller on the line.
Looking forward to seeing how this all comes together.
Yeah. Thank you, mate. Good to hear from you. See you soon.
Cheers, lads.
Always good to hear from Stonia. We might disagree on that last take, but good to hear his opinions on that Loughborough team, eh?
It is. I was expecting him to go after you a bit more, to be honest. He's just like I'd have liked him to get a bit more stuck in, but I think it's nice that he can see that actually it's probably something that Loughborough have done historically as well, and I think like you said, any uni has done and would do and will do in the future.
Well, look, we grew up in an era where we had a player manager in James Thee, 35 years of age. He would take us to the cleaners in training, and we wouldn't have had it any other way.
No, not at all. Yeah, and go win BUCS as well. And so I think
where are the days? Was it 2013? He put away Ben Coldray and Cheeseman in the 1500 outdoors. It's pretty much that video which sold us. I think I watched that on one of the open days, and I was like, yeah, seems like a cool place to come. So, yeah, didn't even cross my mind that he was 35, and that's always been the nature of BUCS, right? But hey, let's time to get on now. Tom Barrett, he will give his opinions on that special weekend, and maybe we'll pitch him the idea of BUCS merging with the cross challenge. Let's see what a few other people think of that from Stonia there. But Tom Barrett of Oxford, Barrett, we want to hear from you from an Oxford perspective. How special was it? I don't like to talk too much on the success of the team, so I'll let you do it. But how special was the weekend? And what did you make of BUCS overall as a competition, given that it wasn't going to go ahead, of course, about 4 months ago?
Indeed. Yeah, well, great to be here, guys. A long time listener of the pod and first time caller today. I thought it was a brilliant day, wasn't it? I mean, there was a lot of concern about the course going in from an Oxford perspective, that it was kind of playing fields, not sure what it was going to look like. Would it favour the boys? But actually, when I got there, I'm not a cross runner. I'm a a supporter these days, but I just thought it was proper cross country. Like it took my mind straight back to all those schools competitions. It was just field, tape, mud, and I thought it was actually a great advert for the sport in the end. And the men's race particularly, I mean, I think ultimately Oxford winning's just good for the sport, and I know that's it might not come as a surprising take, but I think it was the same last year when Cambridge won the women's event. I mean, this is an event that between Birmingham, Loughborough, St Mary's has been dominated since the 1980s, and I think other teams getting involved in that action is only a good thing for the sport, especially in close team battles like we saw at the weekend.
Yeah, Tom, we've had Matt Stoner on the line just before. He's been speaking about the age of the Oxford men's team. Any response to that?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of conversations on the course, and I was there chatting to people, and I think there were even a few suggestions from some people that took away from the victory in some form, and I just don't think that's the case at all. I mean, I actually think that's the point of university sport. I don't think that Oxford winning with a slightly older team is some kind of flaw in the system or like a loophole exploited. I think it's actually proof that the student first attitude in university sport can still succeed in a landscape that's been dominated for 5 decades by performance based programs that are particularly well funded and often contain professional athletes.
It's a good take, Baz. And also the way that all of those guys, I mean, that whole team, except were there last year, right? Chris wasn't even in the A race last year, for example. And then also in Leeds, it was the same guys who had gone through that journey as well, all in that team, except one who's graduated again. But talk about just Jared Ward, how he embedded himself into the program as well. He was quite a figure for us, especially last year when we found out he was coming and what he's meant to the club.
100%. I mean, great guy to have around. And you're right, the team's been, bar him, it's a team of basically homegrown guys who were here in the beginning of their undergrad, and I've been there when we've been pretty bad. Don't get me wrong, I've been to BUCS competitions in previous years where we thought we might be able to sneak a medal and we came 7th, 8th, and it's mostly the same guys who managed to bring home the team title this year, bar obviously Jared Ward. And I think he'd probably be the first guy to admit that actually being 37 and having 6 kids hasn't made him any quicker. I think he'd much prefer this race to have taken place in 2016 when he was in sort of prime 209 shape, but you take what you get, and he's been a brilliant guy to have on the team, and I think all the guys have learned so much from his kind of attitudes to training and racing, and also just to being a teammate and supporting other people on the team.
Absolutely. Barrett, great to hear from you. I wish we could talk more, mate, because you are a man of knowledge and great takes, Barrett. So there you go. But I'll see you at training tomorrow. We'll get our next call in. Actually, Baz, just before you go, what's your opinion on pacemakers? Obviously, you're a regular on the BMC circuit. Would you like to see a world where pacemakers don't exist?
I would, yeah. And I know I've been a guy who's organised them before, but I'm pacemakers out. I think they're bad for the sport. I think when the dust settles on every athlete's career across all of history, I reckon there's 4 or 5 athletes who are going to be remembered for the times they ran. I've got Kipchoge, Bannister, Paula Radcliffe, maybe Jim Hines in 100 metres. Other than that, I think every other athlete will be remembered for the results. I think for the general public, if you rely on world records to keep people interested, you're going to have 2 races a year that people care about. And actually, I think for those in the know of the sport, they turn on the Bislett Games and they know that the mile means something there. I think if we can do a better job of selling that winning is what matters, then we're going to get far more people engaged in the sport than just watching these single file time trials.
Sebco, give the man a job. Tom Barrett, thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Great to call in.
Cheers, mate.
Well, that's enough BUCS chit-chat. Time to welcome Dave Reagan. Of course, Ben Patterson's phenomenal result on the weekend. 5 over 800, his first indoor performance in quite some time. Let's hear what Dave has to say about it. And of course, that world record in 800-metre indoor racing, full stop.
Dave, how are you, mate?
All good. Cheers, Ollie. You?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
No worries.
Yes, thanks, Dave. You're squeezing us in before work, I see. Brilliant. Dave, firstly, should we start with Ben? What did you make as his coach? You got to be pleased with that run indoors on the weekend.
Yeah, I don't think it could have gone too much better. There are a couple of little bits that we've had a look at, like 300 to go. Just hesitated a little bit and got a little bit stuck inside Solomon. But overall, can't complain at that at all for an opener. To get that standard ticked off straight away, big relief, and means he can just go and race now rather than have to chase. So, yeah, ideal start really. But yeah, work to be done and little bits to be picked out. So yeah, it's a good race though. Good one to be involved in.
Coming off, obviously, last summer where obviously disappointment from him, I'm sure. But obviously, he did kind of come back towards the end of it. What was it like going into this season, and what sort of things were you kind of chatting with Ben about in terms of the goals for indoors, and then how you can use that to springboard into what is a lot of opportunity in the summer?
Yeah, so it was a bit of a toss up really whether to go indoors or not, because like you say, he missed a lot last year, and we went into the summer sort of half baked, not really with that depth that you really like to get from the winter. So it's a bit of a toss up. So there was quite a lot of conversation around whether it was the right move or not. But there were various reasons why he did want to go indoors and why it made sense. So yeah, we sort of held on to the volume as long as we could, and we were still actually building that back up, because he had a little break off the back of that summer, because we did have to push quite hard to get to where he needed to be, or where he was. So yeah, we only started on the speed work a few weeks ago, really. He went out to Tenerife with Max, and yeah, that's been a good camp for him, although he wasn't too keen on the venue. So yeah, been quite a good build in. And yeah, ahead of the summer, like you say, it's busy, it's hectic, isn't it? I know the rest of the world's talking about it as a down year, but yeah, certainly not for us. So yeah, it's going to be a busy summer, hopefully hitting both of those championships with the Euros and Commonwealths. And then if opportunity comes about to go to the World Ultimate Champs, then yeah, that'd be great. But that makes for a very long year coming off indoors.
Yeah, it does. And also, Dave, I wanted to hear your thoughts on Hoey's world record the other day, and obviously, again, every time Boston comes around, there's that conversation around the bank tracks and stuff. But what do you feel that 142's?
It's hard to say, isn't it? I think we're still in that period where we're having to recalibrate on times, aren't we? Can't really gauge them against the times that we know of, and I think indoors is kind of doing over the 800 what we've seen over the past 2 years outdoors, where we're really stepping on. And I don't know, maybe it's me getting old, but I thought that was quite a sad day where you saw Bakili and Kip Keita records go down to a couple of, I don't want to call them average, they're world class athletes, but they're not the standouts that you would have associated to the guys in the past. So yeah, I think the times are going to become a lot closer, whereas you've got that old rule of thumb of it being 2 seconds slower indoors over 800. I think we're going to get a lot closer now, and especially, Matt Yates posted something interesting about the science of the Boston track the other day. Yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting read. So yeah, I think it's going to become a lot closer now. Like I say, I think we're recalibrating, and until we see a couple of standouts and everyone run over those distances, it's going to be a couple of years before it settles down and we see what it all means. But Hoey's just always in shape, isn't he? Apart from, I think that run took its toll on his body by the sound of it. Yeah, we might not see him again indoors, but hopefully we do. Because, like I say, he's been on a tear for a long time, hasn't he?
Well, Dave, this is we're going to discuss pacemakers. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Should the sport get rid of them completely? Because we are in this era where we are having to recalibrate times. You as a coach, how do you judge Ben's performances? Because it's very difficult not to look at the time your athletes just run and take that at face value and sort of, I guess, overanalyze that time. So how do you judge Ben's performances as a coach in an era where times are just so vocal?
Who's in the race with you? Who are the people that have just finished ahead of you? I think he came out straight after his run in 2024 and he said, I've run 142, but I've finished 5th. Who's gone and run that time and equaled it? Who in the race is beating you, and how important that is? I mean, position has always meant a lot more to Ben than times. And he's been quite vocal about that in the past. So, championships are what govern our sport at the end of the day, aren't they? So I do think pacemakers have a place. Yeah.
Would you like to see less of them?
I do love a race. A true run race. I think we, especially in the Diamond League circuit, races like that, where it is just, if you get in that race, you're running something ridiculous. There seems to be such a gulf in between, especially over 800, 1500. There's a huge gulf between the Diamond Leagues and the rest of the competitions. Even the World Athletics Gold meets are, the country mile behind. So yeah, I'd like to see more true run races, but at the same time, I know people love a pacemaker to get themselves their qualifying times and get ticked off. But you've also got your venues like your Bostons, which I think a lot of the longer distance guys managed to get qualifying times very early in the year last year, and then just get their heads back down and worry about domestic championships and stuff. So I would like to see more true run races, but I think that's where the champs really become special, because you haven't necessarily seen how those races are going to play out.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's next for Ben then in terms of his racing?
So he's over in Germany this weekend at Karlsruhe, and then on to the British Champs. Hopefully, get a spot in the World Champs team over in Poland. And then I think we've got one more race between British Champs and World Champs, should that be an option. So yeah, head back down after that. It's indoor season, so fleeting, isn't it? It's just here and gone in a split second.
Yeah, look, Dave, we'd love to talk more about it, but we've got another caller on the line. But thank you for phoning in on this pilot episode, mate, and always good to hear from you.
No worries, good to chat to you, boys.
Cheers, Dave.
Have a good one.
Next on the line, we have a pacemaker himself, Ben Claridge, fine runner in his own right, 147 over 800, sub 4 miler, based in Cardiff as well. Let's hear what Ben has to say on pacemaking.
Hello.
Hi, mate, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thanks. And we've just had someone saying that pacemakers need to go. As one yourself, as someone who's clearly benefiting from being a pacemaker, tell us about how you got into it, first of all.
It was sort of just in the BMC. They asked me to help out one day. Did an all right job, I suppose. A few people said I was quite good at that. It's quite nice to follow. And then kind of just decided from there I was going to take it a bit further. It's money, right? I don't make money from running, but I can make quite good money pacemaking and quite enjoy it. I mean, you've got kids running 348 now and 114 600, so I don't think I can compete with those myself. So it's just something new and a bit different.
Yeah, Ben, would you say you've, I guess, made a career out of pacemaking? What's been your highest profile event that you've paced at? Was it Diamond League in London this year or last couple of years?
Yeah, it would have been London Diamond League in the summer. And then, I mean, you get them quite last minute, but I have at least one gold tour lined up for this summer, pacing at the weekend, actually, in Metz, Silver Tour, indoors. Brilliant. So that sort of level. And like they come and go. It's quite hard. You don't get them until quite the last minute often. They want to know you're in shape and not injured, etc.
No, absolutely. But I'll pitch you this, right? A pacemaker in a Diamond League, I don't know how much you got paid, but for example, I have heard numbers of £1,500 to sort of £2,000 some pacemakers have been paid in the Diamond League. 7th place, I think, gets you, or 8th place gets you £1,000. So tell me why a pacemaker should earn more than an athlete who is arguably top 10 in the world.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree that they should earn more, but you are setting up that whole race, and you have obviously a lot of people in the race that are making more than the pacemaker. But I do agree that if someone's of a level, but then they're probably making more, they probably have a kit contract if they come in 6th, 7th in the Diamond League. I don't have that. I only have the pacing money. So I suppose all the other aspects of it, overall, you're making less. But if you can do a good job that sets up a 326, 327 race, people want to see that, and people are going to pay someone to do that. That being said, there probably is people that would do it for a lot less money. And there's been races that I would have done for less, but obviously that seems to be what races pay and just how it works. I mean, I'm not going to complain. And you sort of like your price sort of goes up the more you do, and the more high caliber ones you do, the next meet offer more and more and more. So it's a weird. We could probably do a whole episode on just pacemaking. To be honest, it's a really weird avenue in the sport. That's like it's still quite new to me. From like the proper, like quite low paid, say down at BMC level, all the way up to Diamond Leagues and more. Some pay more than Diamond Leagues, depending on just what they want done and what job needs doing, basically.
Yeah, reports London Marathon, £4,000 for some of the pacers in the upcoming race. Obviously, it's a decent amount, but obviously they are running a fair way as well. So you're probably getting a better price per meter rate anyway. Have you, in terms of getting support and stuff, have you tried to pitch like kit sponsor for yourself in terms of being in high profile races as a pacer?
Yeah, so that's something I started last year. So I am now an ambassador with On. So I get kit and I do get a bit of support with On. And they really bought into the whole, like I'm leading races. London, for example, I'm on the front for 800 metres. Cameras are on me. It is a similar level of exposure other than you're not going to get the end result. But On have bought into that. So yeah, I was kitted out with On at the Diamond League. And then throughout this year, as an ambassador, I'll be wearing On as well. And they'll be helping I mean, obviously, a lot of the travel and things are paid for, but if it's not in any case, then they will step up and help you there as well.
As a fan of the sport, you obviously watch a lot of racing yourself, though. When a pacemaker is involved, is the race less exciting?
Yes. Depending on what you want to see, though. I'm 50-50 on it. I think we still need pacemakers, but I think we need to use them less, potentially. I think you need to have the fast races because that's how you decide who's going to be in these races. There's no other real way of doing it unless you win a BMC, you move on to a bronze tour, you win that, you win a silver tour. But all these meet directors are looking at times on paper. So I think you need some races, but then I think once you reach that potential level, we could definitely do away with maybe half the Diamond Leagues. You get rid of a pacer and you keep it for the other half. I think people always want to see someone go for like a 325, right? They want to see world records attacks, but I don't think we necessarily need it every time.
Well, Ben, thank you for coming on. Apologies, and it's been great to have you on. And sorry, we couldn't talk more. It has felt a little rushed, but yeah, good takes, and hopefully hear from you soon as well.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Ben. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, Ben.
See ya.
Yeah, so if you want to take that pacemaking debate further, I think perhaps we could take that into future weeks as well. So if you have any responses to anything that maybe Ben had to say or Dave had to say on the pacing, then we'll happily hear from you. So send us a message on Instagram. We'll get you on next week. We've also got some voice notes that we'll go through next week as well. We'll kick off next week's episode with that. Yeah, I think it was good though to get a few perspectives, mate. I don't know about you.
Absolutely. And I think, Claridge makes a good point. I am a fan of making the sport more exciting, moving away from this time-based era that we're in, but it does offer a lot of opportunity for guys like himself as well. And of course, the way the sport is currently set up, you almost need these fast races because that's how people qualify for championships. So, athletes need him at the moment. The sport would need to change. And obviously great to have our first callers in. Sorry, it's a little bit messy today, guys. We are rushing a bit on a bit of a time crunch. But also next week, we want to carry on, yes, the conversation about pacemakers, but just to preview London Cross Country this weekend, loads of world tours, Madrid Tour, Metz, Karlsruhe as well, where Ben Patterson is going to run out. And also the discussion that we're going to have next week, we've got some great guests coming on around this is our sport at a crossroads? Elite versus non-elite. How do you consume our sport right now? Are you more excited by elite head-to-head racing or by athletes and creators on YouTube watching their latest episode? And what does it say about where distance running is heading? Because I think we watch Milrose live. How many of you watch Milrose live versus how many of you will go on to watch YouTube's the minute they come out? So I feel like we are at a bit of a crossroads between elite and non-elite, and who's going to basically get the money from the brand, TV audiences.
Who's going to take the biggest piece of the pie? Yeah, if you want to chip in on that, as I said, let us know. All the information will be on our socials. Thanks for listening to us, and we'll catch you guys very, very soon.